Okay, so I'm going to do a little carving on this wand I started a couple days ago. Carved out this basic shape with the coping saw on Saturday. So today I'm going to use my curve-based spoke shave and then my dremel and then some hand sanding and get it all shaped out. I usually get a little tear out on these just because there's so much going on with the curves, but it usually ends up working out alright. So on the tip, I do most of the work with the dremel and then hand sanding, but before then I'll just kind of take my spoke shave and kind of hook a little piece of wood and just twist it to take it off, just to give it a little bit of a profile before I get to the dremel and hand sanding. I usually like to cut, especially on things like this where you've got so many different curves and valleys and stuff, with a fairly heavy skew on my spoke shave, so I'm holding it at about 45 degrees across the wood. And with these, because I do Dremel sanding drum after I carve out the shape, and then hand sanding, I like to use a fairly heavy cut on my spoke shave because any kind of little bits of tear out and stuff that happen from it, I'll work out with the Dremel and hand sanding. Right now I'm actually kneeling on the floor. I generally have to switch directions quite a bit on this. This is the part I like least because I have to stick the narrow end of the wand into my vise. So it's usually got less hold and also more risk of damaging the wood. That seems pretty solid. So what I'm doing right here, I've got these two bumps in the wood where the coping saw came out, so I'm just knocking those bumps out of the way before I do anything else. And one thing that you really can't avoid, at least not easily, with these odd shapes is that, especially when you're doing the handle side of a wand like this, the tip's thin, so you've got a bunch of flex in the wood. And that makes it kind of difficult to get a really clean cut because the wood is bouncing around and vibrating the whole time. And what I'm doing to follow this, I'm just essentially working by feel. So you pull until you feel the blade bite, and then as you're coming up a curve like this one, you just kind of rotate your wrists a tiny bit as you're working into the curve. And that'll let you get a pretty much continuous cut. Now I check what it feels like, look for spots where I haven't actually done any shaving on it yet. So right here, Okay, now feel like the handle's still a little bit on the thick side and not quite rounded enough, so I'm going to work that for a little while longer. Mainly narrowing down towards where the fingers wrap around the bottom. Okay, now I need to curve this back in to get an even profile on there, because it feels pretty good in the hand in terms of width now. That's pretty nice. That's pretty good. Dremel will thin it down a little further, so I don't want to go too far with the spokeshave and end up making a wand so thin it breaks. Pretty comfy. Alright, so here's where we are now. The tip is mostly rounded off, not completely. For the hand sanding, I just use the Gator pre-cut quarter sheets. Because I find them folded in half to be just the right size for stuff like this. Starting with 80 just to quickly knock down the bumps and ridges left by the Dremel. This one's actually going to look pretty neat. Got some quarter sawn rays here and there. Some nice dark grain rings. Should look pretty cool. Customer wants me to, well, he didn't request this, but I asked if he wanted any color added, and he said he chose red oak because red's his favorite color, so I'm going to add some extra red when I finish it. That should give it a kind of interesting look. There's often going to be little areas, I'm not sure if you're seeing this, but there's a little area right in here where the Dremel took some deeper nicks. I usually don't worry too much about those because, especially when you are going to be adding some color to it, they actually end up looking kind of neat on things like this. You know, I'll sand them a little bit smoother, but I don't try to cut all the way through them unless I want a really, really smooth, even color across the whole thing. But I kind of like these wands to look a little bit, a little like they've been used, you know, kind of like they're older. Just getting the end grain. Go ahead and bring my finishing stuff over here so I don't have to set the camera back up. Just using blonde shellac, pre-made shellac. Mixol tints. Let's see, we got orange, red, and then oxide red. I'm going to use a little of both of them. Just because the oxide red is a little bit more of like a darker red. Oh yeah, that got super red. Make sure it is well mixed. tight. Alright, let's see what happens. Soak that end grain. Not bad. Definitely bringing the red out. Make the AC away from that so it doesn't freeze the shellac. Not bad. Hang that right there. Put some weight on it just to make sure it doesn't fall. Alright. Give that a while to dry and do another coat.